You're fighting them with engineers, sir. Hold your fire!
Victory is measured in body count.
How do you count them when they're buried?
One by one.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 action war film, Ambush. The film is co-written and directed by Mark Berman and it stars Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, Aaron Eckhart, Connor Paolo and Mark Brandt. Now the film is set during the Vietnam War and it focuses on a group of American soldiers who are essentially like holed up in like this fort, this like small American base. And within this fort, they are holding some top secrets that if these secrets get into the enemy hands, it will put many, many lives at risk. And the camp is ambushed by a number of Vietnamese soldiers who managed to not only kill many of the Americans at this camp, but also get off with this like batch of secrets sort of thing. And it is deemed a top priority by the generals and what have you in charge, that a team has to go out with some tracker dogs, find this like package of secrets and make sure they are taken away from the enemy grasp. Which means that these American soldiers essentially have to go underground because these Vietnamese soldiers are very adept at kind of hiding underground in like these hidden bases and attacking like out from the surface. So the American soldiers have to go into the heart of the enemy to find what they need. Right. What are my thoughts on Ambush? Well, at first glance, this film appears to be like another one of those rushed, straight to streaming stroke DVD stroke Blu-ray films with a couple of recognizable names and faces on the cover in order to kind of draw in unsuspecting audiences. And while much of that is fairly accurate to a large degree, actually under the surface of this film is actually quite a decent little horror stroke thriller. I mean, action war thriller type film. And why I kind of said horror there is, and I'll get into that a little bit more in detail later on, is there are aspects of this film that actually do feel like a horror film. Because the setup is fairly standard. You know what I mean? You've got these Americans at this camp, you've got a lot of rookies, and you've got the powers that be there, so on and so forth. And it's all very seen all this before type stuff. And then this package is stolen by the Vietnamese and it becomes a top priority to get it back. That is when this film becomes much more interesting, in my opinion, because they have to look for volunteers to go down into like the belly of the beast, if you like, down into these underground bases that the Vietnamese are holed up in order to get this back. And they don't really have a choice. So the people that go down there to do this task are essentially rookies. Most of them have never seen combat before. And the horrors that they face underground is really quite... It's portrayed quite graphically in this film. I'm trying to find the right words for it, really. And that, for me, is when this film really, really did hit the ground running. Everything else is kind of decoration to try and make the film look better. The addition of Aaron Eckhart is basically... He's in the film 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops. He's a voice on a radio. He's the guy barking out the orders. And then you've got Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who... Well, essentially, he's like a tracker, I suppose is the best way to put it. He's got like these specialist dogs and he's like a tracker. He's on the surface. He's tracking and finding these holes for these soldiers to go down into the belly of the beast, into the heart of the enemy's base. Beyond that, the real stars of this film, in my opinion, are many of the mostly unknown actors, well, certainly to me, who kind of go down into these underground bases to kind of search for what they need, because everything at that point kind of presents this film as almost a horror. It's very claustrophobic. The actors portray the situation that they're in, I think, really quite well. They're terrified, they're scared, they don't know what's round the next corner, they're constantly getting sneaked up on, the grenades dropped on them by the enemy, because the enemy obviously know that base really, really well underground, and these Americans that have gone under don't know it at all. So, you know, they are really facing the unknown down there, and I think this film portrays it really quite well. And like I say, on the surface, and the setup of this film definitely presents it as a by-the-numbers Vietnam War film, the kind of war film you and I have seen many, many times before, and to be perfectly honest, we're not really that interested in seeing again. I think this film does something a little bit different with this genre by putting these rookie soldiers in the situation that they put them in. And it does get quite tense, and it gets very, very interesting, and at that point I was fairly engaged. So while I'm not here to tell you that this film is anything massively special, if you're a fan of war films and you want to see like a Vietnam film that does present itself as something a little bit different, then you could definitely do far worse than this one. Forget about the names on the sleeves, they don't have a great deal to do with this film. If you're quite interested in seeing like claustrophobic type war films that kind of play around with the genre a little bit and do make it a little bit tense, and like I say, borderline a horror at times, then this might be something that you want to check out. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.